So where did he get that idea? Where'd that come from? Well, it came from the Bible. Actually, it came from Jesus himself. The example of Jesus and his discipleship. What we see from the Lord Jesus in Mark chapter 3, verses 13 and 14, it says, and Jesus invited those who he himself wanted to be with him, that he might send them out to preach. And he appointed 12 to be with him. And so we see this concept of Jesus focusing his energy on just a few. And within that 12, you'll see even a priority within the 12. Peter, James, and John, they're often referred to first in the listing of the disciples. You'll see times where Jesus is stealing away time just with the 3 of them. The 12 are not involved. He's just focusing on their development. And so you had leaders within the group of leaders. But within that group, does anybody know who the one person that Jesus was prioritizing as the number one person he was discipling, if you will? Peter. And upon this rock, I'll build my church. And so you see, if you can almost think of concentric rings, 12 people, 3 people, 1 person. God of the universe, in his plan to bring his church to the earth, which was intended to go long after he's gone, long after every generation dies off, for it to continually multiply. What was his plan? His plan was to pour into 12 people, within those 12, 3, within those 3, 1. It's his plan of discipleship. And I'm so thankful for this. I've been a pastor for a long time now. I've been in the marketplace. I've been leading in the church. And some of the churches I was involved in early on were small, but then they started to grow. And I just remember, I don't have a really big relational capacity. Some people I know, 200 people, they just can know them all, be friends with them all, but even they have a limit. No matter how sanguine you are, no matter how relationship-oriented you are, you're going to reach your limit. And a church of 200, that's quite a few relationships. And so I found myself realizing, well, what am I going to do? Well, I went to the scriptures and I discovered this principle as well. And for me, the way I summarize it as a pastor, here's my job, and this is probably encouragement to you as a Summit Connect group leader as well. Love everybody, disciple a few. All right, that's a great way to think about ministry. Our job is to love everybody. People that come into your life, love them, talk to them, encourage them, meet the need, engage with them individually. All right, and that's how we can love everybody. But then within that, make sure that you have priorities. Make sure that you are understanding, here's some individuals that we've agreed that we're going to be in a special kind of relationship with one another, the kind of relationship where we're going to help one another grow spiritually. We're going to help one another enter into leadership. We're going to help one another multiply leadership. And so we love everybody, but we disciple a few. If we do this, could you imagine what would happen here at Summit? This is our dream. I love what Dan has been able to accomplish here. And the growth that is happening in our Summit Connect environment is just fantastic. But the majority of the growth right now is still coming through addition, still coming through people saying, okay, I'll volunteer. But this multiplication piece is just beginning to take root. All right, and what it's going to look like is your group intentionally identifying leaders, your group intentionally developing those leaders, and your group intentionally multiplying so that those leaders have an opportunity to lead a group themselves that in turn becomes another generation that hopefully those groups will multiply. And if we see that begin to happen, it'll become the primary way that Summit Church grows. And I think it's the way God intended for the church to grow. So isn't that great? So this is important. I think this is the most fundamental thing we can do in understanding what it means to be engaged with Jesus as he builds his church, as he advances his kingdom. It's the making of disciples. We call it developing of leaders.